If you've lost a spouse, the way you file for Social Security survivor benefits in 2026 could be one of the most important financial decisions you ever make. The truth is this: depending on the age you claim, you could receive as little as 71.5% or as much as up to 100% of your deceased spouse's benefit for the rest of your life. And that difference, like hundreds of dollars every single month, keeps growing every year as new COLA increases stack on top of each other. Today, I'll break everything down in clear, simple terms so you understand exactly how the 2026 rules work and how to make the smartest choice for your situation. Before we begin, please like this video and subscribe to Social Security posts so you never miss important updates. And if you have any questions about your own survivor benefits, drop them in the comments. I read every comment and use your questions to plan the next videos. Survivor benefits are monthly Social Security payments that a widow or widower can receive based on the earnings record of a spouse who has passed away. In 2026, this benefit is tied directly to the deceased worker's primary insurance amount, also known as PIA. The PIA represents what the worker would have received at their full retirement age, before any early filing reductions or deductions. When Social Security says a surviving spouse can receive up to 100%, it refers to receiving 100% of that PIA amount, not necessarily the exact check the deceased spouse was receiving. This distinction is important because the deceased may have filed early and reduced their own benefit, or they may have had Medicare premiums or taxes deducted, all of which change their check amount but not the underlying PIA. To qualify in 2026, a surviving spouse generally needs to be at least age 60 or age 50 if disabled, or any age of caring for a child under 16 or a child who is disabled. Divorced surviving spouses may also qualify if the marriage lasted at least 10 years and they meet the same age requirements. These rules apply whether the deceased spouse worked full-time, part-time, or had breaks in employment. The Social Security system simply adds up the highest 35 years of indexed earnings to calculate the PIA, and that number becomes the foundation of the survivor benefit. Importantly, these survivor payments do not reduce what other beneficiaries, such as children, may receive, though all payments combined must remain under the family maximum. In 2026, survivor benefits automatically include the projected 2.8% COLA increase, which applies to both existing and future recipients. This means that when you claim, even if your spouse passed away years earlier, all COLA increases that apply to their record continue to apply to yours. As a result, the up to 100% survivor benefit becomes more valuable every single year. For example, if your spouse's PIA was $2,400, the COLA increase lifts it to around $2,467 in 2026. Understanding this structure is the foundation for everything else we'll cover, because every age-based decision is built on this exact formula. The full 100% survivor benefit starts with the deceased spouse's PIA. If the worker had not yet filed when they passed away, the survivor benefit is based on the full PIA plus every COLA the worker would have received. However, if the worker had already filed, the calculation becomes more complex. If they claimed early, they reduced their own benefit. But the survivor benefit does something unique. It uses the widower's limit rule, which helps protect the surviving spouse from extremely low payments. This rule ensures that the survivor receives at least 82.5% of the worker's PIA, even if the deceased filed for retirement benefits as early as 62 and reduced their own check significantly. Here's how the widower's limit works in practice. If the deceased spouse claimed early and reduced their own check to, say, $1,700 despite having a PIA of $2,400, the survivor's maximum is not capped at $1,700. Instead, Social Security uses the widower's limit to ensure the survivor gets at least 82.5% of the PIA which would be about $1,980 in this example. This protects surviving spouses from being penalized for decisions they didn't make. But it also means that some widows and widowers can never reach the full 100%, depending on how early the deceased filed. Finally, you must factor in COLA. Every year, the PIA is adjusted based on the cost of living adjustment, and in 2026, that is expected to be about 2.8%, adding value to both current and future survivor benefits. This compounding effect becomes powerful over time. For example, a widow receiving $2,400 in 2025 would automatically jump to about $2,467 in 2026. Even if early filing reduced the percentage, every COLA multiplies on top of the reduced amount, creating lifelong increases. This is why understanding the survivor filing age is so valuable. It determines the base amount from which all future COLA increases grow. Age 60 is the earliest age a non-disabled widow or widower can start collecting survivor benefits, but it comes with the largest permanent reduction. The reduction typically brings the benefit down to about 71.5% of the deceased spouse's PIA. This reduction is permanent and does not increase even if the survivor later reaches their full retirement age. For example, if the deceased spouse's PIA was $2,400, claiming at age 60 could bring the survivor benefit down to about $1,716 per month, which is a permanent loss of $684 each month, not including future COLA increases. This decision becomes even more complicated for survivors who are still working. In 2026, the annual earnings limit for people under their full retirement age is projected to be around $24,480. Any earnings above that limit cause Social Security to withhold $1 for every $2 earned over the limit. For someone earning $34,480 per year, that is a $10,000 overage, resulting in roughly $5,000 withheld for the year. This means a widow who claimed early might not just receive a reduced benefit. They could also lose months of payments because of the earnings test. Because the reduction at age 60 is permanent, survivors must carefully consider the long-term impact. While early claiming may help someone who has no income or who needs immediate support, waiting even 2 more years can dramatically improve the lifetime payout. The decision at age 60 locks in a lower starting point, and all future COLA increases only apply to the reduced number. For someone living into their 80s or 90s, claiming at 60 may result in losing tens of thousands of dollars that could have been secured by delaying. This is why survivors are encouraged to examine their health, work situation, and personal finances before making an age 60 filing decision. Claiming survivor benefits at age 62 offers a middle ground option between the deep reduction at 60 and the full amount available at full retirement age. At age 62, the reduction is smaller than the 71.5% level at 60, but still significant. Survivors claiming at 62 may receive somewhere in the 80 to 83% range of the PIA, depending on their birth year. For example, with a PIA of $2,400, claiming at age 62 could result in a monthly benefit between $1,920 and $1,992. This is still lower than the maximum, but hundreds more than the age 60 amount. What makes age 62 especially strategic is that survivor benefits are not subject to the deemed filing rule. This means a survivor can take their own retirement benefit or the survivor benefit separately, switching later to whichever benefit becomes higher. For example, a widow with her own retirement benefit of $900 at 62 may choose to collect her survivor benefit at 62, or she might claim her own retirement benefit first and then switch to the survivor benefit at her survivor full retirement age to get the full amount. This flexibility is unique to survivor benefits and does not exist with regular spousal benefits. Survivors claiming at 62 must still consider the earnings limit if they are working in 2026. The same $24,480 earnings limit applies, with the same withholding rules. Survivors should also think about long-term planning. For some, claiming at 62 makes sense if they need the income, or if their own retirement benefit is projected to be higher at 70. For others, delaying to survivor FRA may produce tens of thousands of dollars in additional lifetime income. The decision depends on life expectancy, financial need, work status, and whether the survivor expects their own retirement benefit to surpass their survivor amount in the future. Survivor Full Retirement Age, FRA, is different from regular FRA. For survivor benefits, FRA ranges between 66 and 67 depending on birth year. Claiming at survivor FRA unlocks up to 100% of the deceased spouse's PIA. In many cases, this is the only way to receive the full amount. For example, if the deceased spouse's PIA is $2,400, the survivor who waits until FRA can receive the full $2,400 per month, assuming the deceased did not file so early that the widower's limit applies. Unlike retirement benefits, survivor benefits do not increase beyond FRA. There are no delayed retirement credits available for surviving spouses. That means waiting beyond survivor FRA does not increase the survivor benefit above 100%. However, if the survivor is choosing between their own retirement benefit and the survivor benefit, their own benefit can continue to grow up to age 70 with delayed credits, even while they are already collecting survivor benefits. This can create a powerful strategy. Take survivor benefits while letting your own benefit grow, then switch at 70 if your own benefit becomes higher. The COLA increase for 2026 adds even more value to claiming at survivor FRA. A 2.8%. COLA increases a $2,400 survivor benefit to about $2,467, and each future COLA builds on this higher base number. This is why claiming at survivor FRA is often the financially strongest choice for widows and widowers. It creates the highest lifetime income unless the survivor has unique circumstances, such as needing immediate income or having a higher personal retirement benefit coming at age 70. Delaying to FRA is often the clearest path to maximizing long-term financial stability. Survivor benefits have special rules that can drastically affect eligibility. Remarriage is one of the biggest areas of confusion. If a surviving spouse remarries before age 60, they typically lose the right to claim survivor benefits on their deceased spouse's record. But if they remarry at age 60 or later, they generally retain full eligibility. This means many survivors intentionally wait until age 60 to remarry so they do not lose benefits worth hundreds of thousands over a lifetime. Disabled surviving spouses also have an exception. They can keep survivor benefits if they remarry after age 50. For survivors caring for a child under 16 or a child who is disabled, survivor benefits can start at any age. The surviving spouse typically receives about 75% of the deceased spouse's PIA, and the child receives another 75%. However, the benefits combined are limited by the family maximum, which is usually between 150% and 180% of the deceased worker's PIA. This means that in some families, benefits may be adjusted downward to stay within the allowed range. These rules ensure the family receives adequate support without exceeding limits set by Social Security's funding structure. Divorced surviving spouses may also qualify, as long as the marriage lasted at least 10 years. The survivor is at least 60 years old and they have not remarried before age 60. Importantly, payments to divorced surviving spouses do not reduce what a current spouse or other survivors can receive. As you prepare for 2026, every survivor should check their spouse's PIA, review their own retirement benefit, understand the earnings limit if still working, and compare claiming ages of 60, 62, and FRA. Survivor benefits offer more flexibility than regular spousal benefits, and smart planning can increase lifetime income by tens of thousands of dollars. Thanks for watching Social Security Post, and I'll see you in the next video.